Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are currently working on our Luna impactor mission here, and the question is, do we have enough Delta V to actually pull this off? And we'll find out. So we are currently in this orbit. Right. So we need to warp up to the Sphere of Influence change? No, we need to do this burn. Okay. Gotcha. So we'll come around and perform this burn. That will put us into a 91.1 kilometer approach with 1.4 kilometers per second as our relative speed. Okay, so this is going to be a much more high difficulty impactor, and that's absolutely understood. So how much do we have right now? We have 2.8 kilometers per second. Okay. So let's warp through this. It's going to be 1.2 here and then an additional 1.4 here, but we'll see what that ends up feeling like. I'm not sure that we have enough Delta V to actually pull this off. We'll find out. So we've got about 80 seconds of burn time left here. And we'll see how this ends up going. Cool. So about 40 seconds of burn time now. That is all looking relatively good. The main question is just one of Delta V. So we'll see how that goes. 15 seconds left. 10. 5 seconds left. Is that really our encounter? That's a kind of crappy encounter. Okay, well, let's warp up over here for now, and we can continue to warp in a little closer. We'll see what this Delta V looks like, because I'm very concerned about this right now. Okay, let's get into the Sphere of Influence. We are now in a Luna flyby, and if we wanted to impact here, we could... Well, I wouldn't actually want to warp here. I'd want to do like a planned burn somewhere around here, so it'd be a retrograde burn. And we would look at bringing this down to impact, something like that. But this actual relative speed is going to be quite high. So that's going to be 413 meters per second. I don't like this encounter that we're in. But let's see what this feels like. We can go back to that save and attempt a different encounter, which probably would be a smart idea. So for now, this will be relatively fine, but I just want to see what this will feel like. So that's about 10 seconds, and we need to be under 100 meters per second, right? We can see our surface velocity here is still pretty high, and our Delta V is actually still kind of okay. So let's see what it would look like if we were to warp to about here. This might actually be manageable. So, if we were to commence a burn here, a retrograde burn, bringing this back to somewhere like, and in reality, it would need to be like up here. Okay, this might be a little bit too late on the burn. I'm not entirely sure here. It's a little hard to tell. It would be about a 47-second burn. Okay, so how much DV do we have? 1.1. So let's put this at around 1,000 meters per second. Something kind of like that, right? And what that ends up looking like is this. Now, as far as that timing goes, that's 54 seconds, and I'm wondering what the actual time between these is. So let's have this selected. This is still high accuracy. It won't let me move it any further than this. So presumably, this is theoretically the correct time. I don't know that it actually is. This is going to be 54 seconds. It would start burning like up here, right? So that's 30.6 minutes. That might be right. Let's see what that feels like. So let's lock to that, and let's burn this. I'm curious. Okay, so we're going to head down like this, and we can see that our surface speed is up there for sure. Okay, so we're going to commence this burn shortly. It actually warped us quite a lot further forward. And now that burn is commencing. Okay, so we are slowing down, but are we slowing down enough? I'm not convinced that I'm reading that at all correctly. But we're definitely slowing down quite a lot. We've got about 800 more meters per second to slow down, though. I think this is burning too late. But honestly, we did have the DV to do it. I'm just trying to limit test a bit here. We're down to 600 meters per second. 500. 400 meters per second. I don't know that we actually have the DV. Yeah. We are a little out of DV. So this is... Oh, we were short by 14 meters per second. Hang on. What's this actually going to do here? Huh. Well, that was interesting. It actually survived. So the Luna impactor here survived. And so did some of that other stuff. We just have to wait for this to stop rolling, and I think this is actually going to count. Remarkably. We were really, really close to the impactor range, and apparently it worked. But like I said, we just need to wait for this to stop rolling. So we're currently at 12 meters per second. Every time we touch the ground, we lose some momentum. We're down to 10 meters per second now. This thing being round is definitely very awkward, but we need to bring it down to a stop. But like I said, every time we touch the ground, it slows down, loses some momentum. So this is coming to a stop. We're down to 4 meters per second now. It's mostly our rotational velocity that's an issue at the moment. Down to 2 meters per second. And there we go. That actually worked. Remarkable. We're going to destroy that craft, and we still have one more craft here, which is this guy, which actually survived the impact as well at over 100 meters per second, which is remarkable. But this we also want to end the flight on. So we'll just destroy that craft as well. We don't need to keep that around. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, for progression missions, we see Cylero orbit. Tech points if crewed, 15. Which honestly, that's not a huge amount of tech points. And then we've got Like a Bird here, which is all about, like, doing planes. I'm not going to do this just yet, I don't think. I kind of want to do this Cylero orbit. So, to that end, we've gotten to Cylero's SOI before. And we're just going to use this small sat launcher. I'm not going to have this be crewed. I don't want to have to recover this. We're going to get rid of the impactor. And we're just going to launch this as is with no payload whatsoever. So let's put this out on the alley pad. Let's bring this over to 45 degrees, and we know that we're going to have some attitude control issues. It's going to have a bit of an oscillation, but that is absolutely fine. Let's go. So off we go here without a payload, and that's going to mean that our thrust to weight in a lot of situations, and our delta V, is going to be quite a lot higher. This is going to be able to get quite a ways, and I think we can probably get to Cylero. Yeah, we definitely have some issues here. Let's lock this velocity to prograde. And we're just going to keep burning until these side boosters are off. There we go. And let's switch over to orbital prograde. Let's keep this at around 60 degrees with a heading of currently 315 degrees. I don't know if that's the heading we want, but okay. Well, for now, I guess it's fine. We'll just push ourselves up here, and we'll see what inclination we get. Okay. Off we go. And we're just going to push ourselves nice and up here until the prograde marker hits here, at which point we are going to lock to prograde. We're almost high enough to ditch our fairing, which will save us a fair amount of additional weight. In fact, I'm going to do it now. Goodbye, fairing. There we go. And we are currently at about 1,500 orbital meters per second. Looks good. We're still pushing along at about 20% fuel here. Not too bad. Apoapsis is looking decent for right now. I'm going to bring us over to 45. We're out of fuel now. And let's actually just put this right at 0. That'll be fine. So this inclination is kind of an odd one. No doubt about that. Oh, this is a very odd inclination. I don't want this orbit. I don't want this orbit at all. Hang on, let's bring that back. Why did we get that orbit? Probably because when I locked velocity prograde, this changed on us. So we can see that our heading is 90 degrees. And we want to head over to 45 degrees over here, right? Yeah, we don't want to go west. Was I doing that all along and going retrograde? Okay, well, that's awkward. Let's lift this off and go prograde. That would be nice. No, I don't think I was. So let's just mark this at 45, and we're going to burn there until we are burnt out of this center stage, this middle stage, and then we're going to go to 0 for this stage. That's the idea. So as we get accelerated up here, we are going to... Actually, we're not having attitude issues. Okay, now we are a bit. As these burn down. Yeah, that makes sense. So we're going to ditch those shortly, right about now. Off they go. And we're just going to hold at that 45-degree marker. Cool. And we're just going to continue to push up this apoapsis up until that is high enough. Which is currently only around 60 kilometers because we've got this second stage here. So yeah, that doesn't quite get us into vacuum, but that's okay. So off we go, and we're just going to continue holding at 45 degrees here, putting half and half into vertical and horizontal speed here. So that seems absolutely fine for now. We're going to push that apoapsis up quite a lot higher. Let's go ahead and fast forward this. So this stage is going to burn out fairly quickly. This is just all about getting us a lot more orbital velocity, right? And that is the idea here. So we're going to bring us out of warp because we're about to stage here. There we go. We're going to stage twice. There we go. And I want to have this guy be right at 0. Okay, so our apoapsis isn't quite as high, but that seems relatively okay. We've got 4.2 minutes, and that seems fine. So we need to go to Cylero's SOI here. Let's take a look at what this orbit is looking like. That is much more reasonable. Okay, beautiful. It's not a perfect orbit. Our inclination is going to be a little off, but I don't care that much. It looks fine. So we're just pushing up that lateral velocity for now. We're at about 2 kilometers per second at this moment, and we can see we have almost 7 in this stage. This is because we have very, very little mass in it. All we've got is our command disk, so that is fine. Okay, we need about 1 kilometer per second of additional orbital velocity, and that is absolutely fine. Our lateral velocity is cruising on upwards there, and we can see that our apoapsis has crested 300 kilometers. That's fine. We're going to continue to burn here in 2x. Our thrust to weight will be passing 1.0 fairly soon, so that seems good. And our craft mass is about 10 tons right now. So that could definitely, well, it will come down. This is almost entirely fuel. So that sounds good. And we're just going to push this apoapsis right on up. You can see that our apoapsis is increasing at a faster and faster rate. Time to apoapsis currently going up. Magnificent. So let's make our way into orbit here. 2.5 kilometers per second lateral at this point. That looks excellent. And our orbital velocity is certainly approaching orbital velocity. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but here we are. Our orbital velocity is approaching orbital velocity. That's a good thing, ultimately. So we're at about 400 kilometers now, and we're just going to keep pushing this up to about 500. And then we'll circularize, as we have been. So right on up to 500 kilometers as of now. That's technically 501, but we'll take it. So we're almost in orbit, but not quite. We're going to plan a burn, not here. I actually want to do this at the apoapsis. And then we're going to push this guy right on out to... This'll be close enough. Sure. That'll work, and let's head on over. Excellent. So this will be 240 meters per second to get us into our target orbit. Beautiful. And then from here, of course, we need to push out to Cylero. So, Cylero is... That's TT there. Cylero is out here. So we have 600 days to do this in. We need to next break orbit from Drew. So that looks fine. We're just circularizing this orbit for now. I'm not too concerned about inclination. We'll do an inclination change after we break orbit from Drew. So we want to push away from the star, right? So at the periapsis, we're going to want to push prograde here. And that's roughly escape velocity. I'm wondering if we set Cylero as our target, what our closest approach might end up being here. Okay, it would be out over here. So we definitely don't want to do that. We're going to do an orbit that's kind of like this. It's not ideal, but maybe just walk that back a little bit to be kind of like that. Okay, something like this should be fine. So that's 1.24 kilometers per second. We've got 5.26 remaining. Do it. So that'll be a 2.5 minute burn. It's definitely something that we're going to want to fast forward. So we'll do that. Excellent. And we are burning. So the next question is one of inclination. Inclination looks like it's not going to be a major issue for us here. So I don't think we need to do an inclination change. We're just going to have to do a Hohmann transfer, and that sounds good. We'll just have to find our timing for it. Okay, so we've got about half of this burn done at this point. That's looking good. We can see that we're almost halfway to Brigo. We'll get there. 400 meters per second left in this burn. Excellent. 200 meters per second left. 150. 100. 50, and we're looking good. Okay, so there we go. Next up, what I want to do is I want to warp to, well, here. But we can't do that right now. So we're going to need to escape. So off we go on our hyperbolic trajectory. And let's warp forward a little further until we are here. There we go. That's our sphere of influence change. So next what I want to do is I want to go shopping. Specifically, shopping for a nice encounter. And there are some pretty interesting encounters, potentially, out over this way. So let's try a burn about here and see what that might feel like. Okay, that is definitely quite off. This, however, is interesting. Okay. I want to tune that back over here a bit. Is that an encounter? 95.6 megameters. Yeah, that's within 10,000 kilometers. That is absolutely... I'm currently wondering if that is an impact trajectory, but I don't think so. I'm just trying to gauge what our relative speed is. 640 meters per second. It should be pretty doable. No, we're going to be going like that. Okay. Yeah, this looks good then. I think we run this exact burn. 358 meters per second and then another 640 means that we have lots of delta V left over for orbital maneuvers. I like it. Let's do it. So we're going to do this burn. We've got 289.8 days to do this. Ooh, hang on. This is going to be in 304.39 days. The deadline is going to time out on us. We can still achieve it, but we're going to be short by a few days. That's a very tight deadline. I wonder if we can dial that in. This is going to be in 17 days. Let's plan a burn there, and let's see if we can get there any faster. We have 289 days. This would do the trick. We're going to be a lot further away, potentially. Yeah, we're going to be a lot further away. But it would get us there faster. For sure. We have delta V to spare. So here's what I'm thinking right now. Is we do something like this. And we arrive there much, much faster. Like that. That gives us an encounter in 232 days. Because we have delta V to spare, that shouldn't be a concern. We can dial this in. It needs to be within 200 megometers. So something like this should be doable. That gives us like 60 days to spare. We've got lots of delta V, so we can afford having some... This is actually a slightly lower relative speed as well. But it's a much further encounter. Okay, let's warp up over here, and this should now be pretty decent. Where's that actual encounter? Oh, we don't have one. Wasn't that awkward? That's an encounter. Okay, we can dial this in a little bit. I mean, I think it's 200 megometers that we need to be within, right? Is that correct? Let's check this. Yes. Circularized within 200 megometers. So this would count. Go ahead and do it. So that'll get us an approach there. We've got lots of delta V here, 3.6 kilometers per second. So I'm not too concerned about that. Commence the burn. And get us into this point. There we go. And then we'll just circularize at the periapsis. We don't care about the inclination or anything like that. So this is absolutely fine. The real concern right now is the deadline. But we're very close on that. Okay. So let's warp forward until we're within the sphere of influence. There we go. Now, at the periapsis, we are going to burn like so. It's going to be a pretty big braking burn, and we're going to have our eccentricity be below 0.1. So that means that we want to have this be at 60.06 megometers. Let's turn down this sensitivity a bit. So something about like that should do the trick. Okay, and that'll be within the deadline. So that sounds good. We have the spare delta V, so we were able to optimize for getting within this deadline. Beautiful. If we were running the borderline with the delta V, that wouldn't have been possible. But we have lots and lots of delta V, so I'm not concerned about it. Beautiful. So our eccentricity is where we want it to be, and this is absolutely fine. I'm not sure why this is changing on us right now. I guess this is probably like floating point error or something. I guess it's done now. Okay, so there's that contract completed, and we can end that flight. Beautiful. We had lots of Delta V for that remaining, but that timer was definitely quite tight. That's definitely noted. So the only progression mission left is Like a Bird, and it's time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to see what that plane flight is like. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.